Good day, YouTube, back with another video here. And as you can see, these are the two front fenders for the 1966 Chevy Impala I've decided to proceed with. Now, just to start, pretty much took the fenders off the car because I thought it would be easier to access certain areas that I would not be able to if it was on the car. And I could pay much more attention to detail here because I could pretty much maneuver and move the fender around the way I need it to be. Now, as you can see, just to start also, I've decided to sand down the clear coat, and a lot of buildup in the debris that just accrued over time over the panel. Also scratches, rust marks, a lot of things that just happened over time to this fender, but I will try to address each and every bit of detail as much as I can so it does not lead to problems later on down the line. And I've also decided to make videos, that way you can see how I actually prep and paint my panels. Each video is different depending on the damages, the condition, and things that I do. Kind of got to just play it as you go along, how you find certain problems that the individual parts may have. But we do have a lot of scuffs, scratches, corrosion, paint runs. This fender pretty much has a lot going on, but nothing major, nothing serious. All of the problems that are within this panel are fixable without having to do any major things like cuts and welds and pulls and things like that. Just a couple of taps, a couple of sanding down just to rid the rust surfaced areas, and building up some body filler, then sand it back down so that all of the edges are nice and smooth. Now, along with the process here, as you can see, I've sanded it down to the thin paint coating. All of the clear coat is gone. There are a bunch of little spots where I actually had to sand back into the metal because there were paint corrosion behind the certain parts of the panel here. So I wanted to address those rust spots by removing them, sanding them down to the clean metal so that I do not cover those areas with good fresh paint, and in a couple of months down the line I have rust bubbles because those areas were not taken care of. Now, pretty much degreasing, using the glass cleaner to rid the panel of a lot of the gummed up debris, sticky areas which will intervene and kind of mess up the process of the quality of work that I'm doing here. So I want to make sure that the panel is nice, clean, and straight by continuously, after each step that I do, blowing it out, wiping it down, keeping it clean. It gives me a better visualization of all of the nicks, knacks, dents that I need to actually address here. So step by step, as you can see, I'm giving it a blow down after applying my body filler over certain parts of the panel, and then I'm gonna just spray everything down with some Eastwood primer here. And this is the epoxy primer because there's a lot of areas of the panel where the metal is exposed. I felt that this is the best primer for the job. And then I'll let it sit. And also, after spraying this primer, it revealed a lot to me. There were just certain dents, uneven surface areas throughout the panel that I would not have been able to see if I did not spray this panel with the primer. And the good thing is, it shows me all of the flaws that are still within the panel before I actually apply my paint. So it kind of works as a guide coat. I don't want to say guide coat, but It has similarities. It kind of just reveals a lot of things that would not have been revealed if I did not apply this step to the process here. So after that process, what I did, I let the panel sit for about 24 hours just to give that primer time to actually dry and harden, because it's much easier to sand when it's completely flashed off. And in all of those uneven areas, spots that needed to be sanded down a little more, I was able to do that, and also add a little bit more of the body filler into areas that actually did reveal itself as being too low compared to the neighboring areas. But it's a step-by-step process. Before I moved on to anything, I just wanted to 100% confirm that all of the areas that needed attention were corrected, so that the surface of the panel was completely even. But as you can see here, there's a lot of areas where I actually had to sand back into the paint. There were some areas that I did have to knock down a little more, and then I resurfaced it with a more body filler just to get it to smoothen out the way that I would like to, just for that paint to look good over the area when I do finally get to the paint process. Now there's a lot of corners in this panel, and I had to address those a little differently than what I did with the hard block, because it digs into the metal a little easier. So what I did, I used a 320 grit, and just over the surfaces of all of the creases in the areas that had the greater angulations, I used the soft block just to smoothen them out. That way when the body panel runs into the flat surfaces, into the creases, everything would look nice, straight, and even here. And as you can see, in the midst of this whole process, the panel has a bunch of different color variations, with the original yellow, the white primer that's already there, and also the body filler. But by touch, it's actually smooth like glass. I'm not only going by how it looks, but I'm doing the hand test just to make sure that the surface is completely smooth. It may look a certain way, but by touch, it defines different variation of the panel. May look off, but it does not feel off. So there's a lot of steps that come into play just to verify that the panel is completely straight. Now moving on here, I'm going to apply another coat of the Eastwood primer here, and I'm using the Fuji gun. This is the T model with the 1.3 tip. I find that it does a good job in applying the primer. This is a much thicker substance compared to clear coat and also your lacquer paint, but the 1.3 tip actually gets the job done. Now as you can see, the panel is back to its state of the prepping here, which looks real patchy with all of the other layers of the body filler, the original paint. But by my judgment, everything seems to be nice and smooth. So I'll blow everything out and make sure that my area is nice and clean, which will reduce the chances of dust just getting onto the panel. And as you can see, this is just a light coat. I've decided to apply a light coat. That way it could flash off better and faster, and I can move on to the next process. And just as a sealer also, that way when I do apply the sublime green, everything just matches more evenly. That way I'm not applying more green towards a surface that's darker or lighter than the other. Now, I've also decided to include the guide coat here, as you can see. And in the midst of this process, as you can see, there's a lot of deep scratches which were still there from the prior prepping of the panel here, and this is the 180 grit. Now without this guide coat, chances are I would have missed those scratches, but by me doing this, it revealed to me certain things that I were not able to see, so I wanted to also address that. And then I'll give it another coat of the primer here, just a light coat before I apply the Sublime Green again here. And as you can see, this is also from Eastwood, and I'm using the Apollo atomizer here. I have a dedicated gun for the base coat, so it's the same process. Now that the panel is completely prepped for paint, I got everything set up here, and I'm giving it a first light coat. I am not trying to actually get a great outcome from my first run. I'm using it as a base application, but also sealer, just to get some of the paint on there to kind of cover up the epoxy primer. And then on my second coat, by me doing that, it does not make it too hard to actually just do my normal passes to get the green on there. Now this is a single stage paint, and as you can see from the outcome here, it's not only green, but it does have a nice shine to it. And this is the clear coat that's actually mixed into the paint from the single stage here. But throughout the process, because I'm doing a pigmentation application, you will see that I'm also using more clear. And I'm using this clear as a base just to get the paint, the pigmentation onto the panel. Now this would not work with the Sublime Green because chances are the coloring from the paint would actually hide the pigmentation, and it would just reduce the strength. So I needed a clear substance to actually just mix the pigmentation into. That way I could apply it into the panel. Now this is the same clear coat I will also be using to achieve the shine that I would like to bring back to the panel also. So I'm doing my left-right passes. This is just a light coat of the pigmentation here. I'm not trying to get a good shine from it. I just want to get the pigmentation on there. And then after this process, I will focus on actually doing the clear coat that's dedicated to bringing the shine to the panel. But by judgment here, as you can see, the pigmentation is on the panel. It does show that it did shift the Sublime Green. It does have a light pearly essence to it. The Sublime Green is still there. It all depends on the angle of how you're looking at the panel. But yes, everything looks nice here. Now moving on to the clear coat. Just doing my left and right passes here, and as you can see, the panel has its shine back. It does have orange peel, and I will address those areas also. I just have to give it time to flash off before I can move on to the next step here. But as you can see, the whole panel is painted here, and it's looking good so far. Depending on how you're looking at it, you could actually see the pigmentation pop, and then the Sublime Green, which is also behind it. Now I'm doing a dry run here of the orbital sander, and this is a 800 grit. Now because this is a bit more aggressive than 1000 grit, I'm being much more careful on how I'm actually sanding the panel down, because I don't want to get a burn through. And before I actually burn through the paint, it would burn through the pigmentation, which is the clear coat. And that can easily be fixed by just applying another coat of the pigmentation. But just to play it safe, I'm being careful and watching everything that I do here. Now this is a 1000 grit. I've kind of been bouncing back and forth between 1000 and 800, but 1000 is the safe zone for me, and I'll pretty much just give it a nice run here. Make sure that everything that is nice and even, taking my time, not actually trying to rush this process, because this is very important for me not to actually dig back into certain areas that I would hate to. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of little speckles throughout the panel from the sanding. It does have a dull look, but there are certain speckles that are within it, and these are just deeper orange peely areas which the sandpaper actually never made contact with. I will dig down a little deeper to address those areas, but just keep in mind, the more you actually sand it down, you're actually digging deeper into the paint to where you can actually get a burn through. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. Now I'm using a wet sand just to address the corners here, which are not accessible with the orbital sander. So I used a soft pad just to kind of allow me access, because it kind of contours throughout those areas and it just positions nice and well to actually make contact, so I can sand those areas down also. So I'll wipe down the whole panel here, and then I'm going to give it another coating of the clear coat. And depending on how that looks, I may have to sand it down again just to rid the surfaces of the orange peel, so I can have a much more smoother outcome. But as you can see, this is the second application of the clear coat. I finalized everything with a 800 grit, and then I just gave it another pass of the clear coat. This is actually the third layer of clear together with the pigmentation here. And with that addition, I did get a couple of runs which I had to correct with the orbital sander here. But by me having a much thicker layer of clear, it reduces my chances of actually getting a burn through, but it does thin out the thick coating of clear that I have here. So I've decided to go a little aggressive with a razor blade on those areas where I did get a run, because I could just focus towards that run and not the surrounding areas, so that those areas still remain to keep its full thickness of the clear. So I'll pass another cleaning of the glass cleaner just to rid the surface of just certain deposits and things that may interfere with the paint. And moving on to the buffing process here, I'm using the 3M compound. And as you can see, just focusing on small parts of the panel, I'm not passing the buffer throughout the whole panel. I focus on one side, and once the shine comes back, I move on to the neighboring area, and it's just in pieces. And as you can see, the clear coat is actually starting to revitalize itself here. So everything is going as planned also. And as you can see, I'm being very cautious on the corners, because these are sensitive areas. Because it has an outward push, I have to be careful how I actually angle the polisher so that it does not burn through the clear coat, because those areas are a bit more sensitive because of the angulation. And if you're not angled to kind of parallel your buffer with the paint surface, you can get a burn through again. And that's something that I want to avoid. So I'm back and forth with the 6-inch and also the 3-inch polisher here. As you can see, I like the 3-inch polisher. It kind of gives me more control, and I could focus more towards smaller areas to get a good shine back. And the great thing about this 3-inch polisher, the RPMs, it has a much more higher rate of the RPM. So after I pass everything with the 6-inch, I actually did go through the whole panel with the 3-inch again, because the 3-inch actually just gave me a much more better outcome to get the shine back on the panel here. So with the 6-inch, I did get a shine, but there was spotty hazing areas, and the 3-inch took care of that. Now that I'm done here, I bought the panel out. That way I could just reveal the outcome of the pigmentation here. That way I could get a better visualization of it. And as you can see, the flakes are present. The clear coat is shining. And the panel is actually nice and straight. There are no dents. I'm kind of examining everything just to make sure that everything is straight and that what I wanted to achieve that I did. And as you can see here, YouTube, this is the sublime green mixed with the pigmentation. Everything done out of my garage here. There's no taking my part to a paint guy to actually do thing. I'm actually doing this on my own as a do-it-yourselfer, just to kind of make videos for those people who might be interested in actually doing something like this for yourself. So like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just a do-it-yourselfer guy. I'm an observer. I observe. I've picked up techniques from other people who I've observed, but at the same time, I'm a kind of examiner. I like to do things which other people have not done to see if it works. And if it does not, I try to find other ways that actually works for me. So that's what I'm doing here, YouTube. And as you can see, the panel is nice and straight. It's shiny. It has a good gloss to it, thanks to the Eastwood European clear that I used here. I find it to be very user-friendly compared to a lot of clears out there, meaning that no matter what type of gun that I'm using, it actually applies itself great. And also the buffing process, everything just seems to be a bit more easier with that clear. And as you can see here, YouTube, all of the corners are shiny, making sure that I did not miss anything here. I kind of wanted to actually do a visualization of the panel outside and also inside, just to get a different feel on how it would look actually under the shade, but also under the sun. Now, as you can see, this is just a test fit here. I actually wanted to get it on the car just to see the position of it, and this kind of gives me a better depict on how it would actually look on the car. And this is just the fenders here, a couple of the panels that I have already addressed. And I'm working my way from the front all the way to the back here, but just staying consistent with everything that I'm doing as far as the paint that I'm mixing, the buffing process, and the layers of clear coat that I'm using. So I kind of want to keep everything the same so I don't veer off the process here. But as you can see here, YouTube, everything is looking nice, coming together well. So this is the sublime green here from Eastwood. And as you can see with the test fit panel on the car here, things are actually looking good with the powder coated rotors that I have here. It's something that I'm trying to do a little different also with the emblems here. As you can see, I've also powder coated those, and I do have a dedicated video to that aspect also. And these are the rims here, kind of just doing a test fit just to give me a better visualization of what the outcome will be like. So this is it, YouTube. Kind of just wanted to make a video just to update you guys on how things are going with the car, and everything's going smoothly.